Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. I am so excited about today's author as well as her work of art because it is not a book that you read, it's actually a journal. So I am so excited to introduce Arrie Simpson, author of Life Be Lifing Wellness Journal. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Well, thank you for having me. This is such an honor.
So, why don't before we get into the journal, which number one, this is a very nicely put together journal. I mean, with tabs and all of that. I am a order freak. I shouldn't say that, but I like order and structure. But tell our listening, viewing audience a little bit about you and your background.
Like you said, I am Arrie Simpson. I am a licensed clinical professional counselor here in the state of Illinois, also licensed in Texas as well. I have my group practice, the Heart of Counseling and Wellness, which is located in Orland Park, Illinois, where we services ages 5 all the way on up. We focus on trauma, families, couples. It's almost you name it, we do it. We try to just be able to service the full family. And sometimes if we can't service you, that's what we connect with our other referral sources to be able to make sure we put people appropriately where they need to get their care. I also have my nonprofit. It's called Josephine's Way. That is where I work to bridge the gap between the clinicians and the clients for people who can't afford care. So just trying to make sure everyone receives access to care. Um, and so, like you said, I have my journal that I have written, which I actually took that journal from all my clients' complaints. So, so my clients, like, they know I'm like, hey, I want you to journal because journaling is a personal relationship with self. And so I'm like, hey guys, I need you to journal. And so I wrote down complaints. And after about a year, I was just like, what can I do with this? Like, because they still not journaling. So what can I do? And just for fun, I started putting it together, and then it started coming. And I was talking to my marketing person, and they were just like, I think we got something here, like let's continue to put it together. And that's like end of story. There she wrote, we got the journal together. So it's really from my heart to my clients, a gift to my clients, because I wanted them to have something where they felt seen and they felt heard. Even in just doing the journals, even if they're not with me, I hear them say like, yeah, I heard you when I was reading this page. I was just so, I was like, I've learned to take it as a good thing. I was like, but did you journal? And they did. So it works.
So, do you find that, and I'm sure I know the answer, but that a guided journal works for more people than just a blank page?
Um, I guess it just depends on the level and who the person is. I have a lot of my clients, they'll have the blank page one, a smaller one, and then they'll have the guided journal because sometimes once they get into it, they have more. I have one person that uses one as an angry journal and then the guided journal as their day to day. Because when they're angry, they need to do brain dumps, and brain dumps sometimes may take a few pages. And so I think it's really depends on the person. But for people that have never journaled before, or people who maybe they can't afford therapy right at this time, or not used to therapy, or trying to break the stigma around mental health care, it's a nice way to kind of step into it. Versus, you have your overthinkers. It's like it's a blank page. It's overwhelming. If you're overthinking this blank page, you don't know where to start. And so that at least just gets you started. Um, and that's kind of what it's been dedicated for people who maybe, even the avid journaler likes it, but usually I still hear them say, I also have my blank page journal to like flow into after I have one of my prompts.
Ooh, so I am definitely a blank journal person, but I love journals with prompts. But I don't think I always like to go in the order that the journal
Right.
was in. But you talked about the word brain dump, and I've used that a lot as an individual who has worked with college students. And I use that in the context of they learn the material in this class, they brain dump it, and then when they go to the next class where they got to pull that information forward, they don't have it because they've dumped it. And I think it's important to brain dump your feelings, because if you don't, and I'm not a therapist, let me just say that. Just a mother, grandmother, been here for 52 years. I know a little thing, a few things about a lot of things, but I think when you're angry, or you're having these feelings, I think it's important to write them down to get them off of your mind so that you can go out through the day. But I think that once you make a decision that you're going to seek therapy, you have something to bring to the therapy table where you can kind of summarize. And I think, I don't know, I don't want to stereotype, but I feel like men need to journal more, because I feel like men don't journal as much. They
Hmm.
hold their feelings in and then one day they explode. But if you could just, men like to watch TV too. So if you could just take some time out of your TV schedule and just write down how you're feeling, I feel like um it would help ease them into therapy, and maybe they go see men therapists. But I just feel like journaling really helps you release what you're feeling. So I got a journal by my bed, I got a journal over here.
Hmm.
I No journal left behind, because I want to
I
make
love it. I
sure
love it. I love it.
I don't want to carry this stuff.
Yes. And I work with a decent amount of men, and I have some, they journal with any problem, with no problem. And then others is just like, well, I feel like it's a diary. So it's really just finding that journal that fits for them. Because think about it, when we grew up, diaries, as women, as little girls, like, here, go write it down. But you do, like, women, like, we talk, you know, we're taught to, express our emotions, understand our emotions. Men aren't necessarily taught the same thing. And then especially, particularly in the Black culture, it's not always taught the same way. And I just tell people, if you cannot write it down, because when you write it down, you make it real. It's one thing to say it in your head and have it there. It's another thing to take it out of your head and put it there where you're seeing it on paper. And so, with it being that personal relationship with self, it's like, if you can put it down on paper and it be real, then what does that do? What does that make you feel on the inside, right? What is that, what is it telling you to do, or telling you not to do? What are your feelings and emotions? What is showing up for you? So a lot can come from that. So sometimes it's like, just start by, that's what I says, a lot of times the prompts are easier, because it's like, you don't have to think about it. Just answer the prompt. Just let it ease you into what's happening. That way you get more used to it, because if you have that day, like before you go to bed and you've had a long day, just journal whatever it is, close the journal. Don't even come back to it in that day. It might not even be meant to it. Or if somebody's angry, one of the things I have people do is like write letters. If, like, say, spouses are having a problem, I'm like, write letters. But before you write that letter, you're going to do a brain dump, because you want to get all the emotion out. You want to get all the, I can't stand and I hate you. And that's your sacred place. Nobody else is yours. And then after that, then picking up the paper and going actually and writing it down and writing the letter out to send, or now that writing a letter to yourself. But brain dumps help in a lot of ways.
Mm, 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 mm. Listen, I want to. It's so many people that I know, and they probably are tired of me saying this, but I read this in some books, and I tell people all the time, I feel like I've grown as a person because of my love of reading beyond what I've learned in school. But I have found, if you brain dump before you go to bed, and then in the morning, if you got some stuff that's sitting there, brain dump again, I think it really helps you kind of navigate your day better, because you've let it out and it's not sitting in your heart. And I don't
Right.
know. I'm gonna ask a physician about this, but if constantly carrying that anger and hatred in your heart, um, how long does it take for it to manifest as a heart attack or some other physical ailment? Because I'm sure it does.
Right. I mean, that just goes back to stress. Some good books for that is, like The Body Keeps the Score. They have books and material out here showing, like, what is not what is not dealt with on the inside will transform, manifest in something else, some other way. It's definitely research out there for it. So it's definitely a thing where it's like, just get it out. And what better way to put it in a private space as yours? And it's no judgment there, right? But a lot of times, like I tell people, like, if you can't write it down on paper, like, what is that like gap that's there? I've told somebody that before. I was like, okay, you've been avoiding writing something down. Like, what is that block that's there? If you write it down, then what? Does that mean now you truly have to face whatever this is, because now you done wrote it down? And a lot of people, literally, when they write something down, it's very powerful for them, because it's like, ooh, it ain't in my head anymore. I can't just be like, it's real in my head, but when I write it down, it feels a different way. But same thing for negative things is also positive things. Some people, you're so busy doing life and going through and just operating that you don't slow down enough to be grateful for stuff. Like, so writing it down. Then sometimes I hear people say, like, well, writing is hard because their brain is constantly going, going, going. And that's one thing that I put in this journal. I put coloring pages. Sometimes just sit there and draw a picture or just color. Just
I,
let your mind just like color how you feel in the moment. You don't have to actually have all the words, but you'll notice as you start to regulate some, you actually, the words just start to be there, and you can just start to write. So it's a lot of different ways. I've had people do this, like, do a voice recording brain dump. Then once
yes.
you get it done, put it down and then start to write. Because sometimes I get it. Sometimes it's a lot flowing at once. And you just need to get it out. But the thing is, get it out and off of you. Why are we storing this in our body? And especially when we're mad at other people, it's like, so they fine. They going on with life. And you sitting here like stuffing it all in. Okay, when are you gonna let it go?
Oh
Because it
my
don't help. They
goodness.
still going on. You still
They,
sitting here mad.
they done moved on with life and you still mad.
Right.
It's funny you mention about voice recording, because when I wrote my first book, the first 3 chapters, I spoke to Zoom. And I need to ask my publisher if she still has those videos, because I wasn't on camera, but I literally was speaking and crying, and
Mm,
that was so therapeutic, because I could literally feel all of this weight just coming off of my body. And then the next few chapters, I was like, oh, Microsoft Word got a little microphone button. So I started using that, and it would literally be my husband and I would be in the car driving, and I literally would open up Microsoft Word on my phone and start talking to it and cry. I did so much crying writing that book, but I realized that there was a reason that that was happening, that I literally
right.
was transitioning through that process, which allows me to be the person that you see in front of you today. And parts of her were here 3 years ago, but a lot of her is this new person that's literally free to help others grow and move beyond what we see today. And it was that journey that got me there. And I
Right.
know if it took you a year, you probably had a box. So, and
It's
I like the fact that it's month by month, so somebody could say, I'm going to start July 1st, right? It doesn't have
mhm.
to be a January thing, cuz to me, this is just my 2 cents. That January New Year's resolution, I'm going to do all the things.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not. I even changed the first quarter for my group practice. I was like, at first, I was like, you know what? No, April was our anniversary. That's our first quarter. We're gonna start in April, because everybody jumps onto it, and it's just like, we're not looking for a diet plan. We're looking for a lifestyle change. So exercise science was my undergrad major. So we're looking for lifestyle changes. We're not looking for diet in our life. Like, one thing, even the title, which everybody knows, they was like, yeah. I was like, life be lifing. Regardless. So what you gonna do while life's still lifing? Because life ain't waiting on you to be like, oh, you know what, they done had a hard week. Let me not this week. It's not. It's a lot of different things intersecting as we're doing life. It's a whole bunch of other lives doing life at the same time. So we're intersecting all the time. How are we taking care of ourselves from the morning to the afternoon? And I did 3 months because my marketing person was like, I've never helped somebody with a journal this long. And I was just like, well, we're gonna be different. And then at the end, having the prompts where it's like the anxiety and depression tools, the boundaries tools, because I can't tell you how many people do not have appropriate boundaries. um
I'm
just
Vanna.
all the different sections. Just thank you. Just all these different sections. Because sometimes it's like you might be having a day and you don't need to necessarily journal today. Like I made it where you don't have to necessarily do it each one day by day. Today might be you need to work on I'm grateful or go to the page to do the brain dump. But then you might want to go work on one of the tools in the back of the book. And I put the tools there. So even if somebody needed to take a sheet of paper or take their journal that doesn't have anything on it and use this as a guide while they're doing it so they can continue to use those tools, that is fine too. The thing is, it's here. And these are little glimpses of what you actually would do in therapy. Like all those things is what I do with my clients: the Cartman's triangle, the boundaries, the anxiety, the depression. These are like the day-to-days that I will say, sometimes you have special cases, but I try to get the foundation of like what's the main thing people kind of step into. But you can take it either way it goes. The thing is, you got to start somewhere. And if I could just make it a little bit easier for you just to get started, I even tell people time, because that's a big thing for people. It's like, well, I ain't got 2 hours to journal. Why can't you journal for 2 minutes? Set a timer. I tell my clients, set a timer, 2 to 5 minutes, turn it on, right? When a timer go off, stop. It's okay. Just stop and then go to do something else. Now, if you have time and you want to continue, continue. But it doesn't have to be I gotta have, because people, what do we see? People had a coffee cup on all this social media, right? Coffee cup, and they're sitting at a window and they're journaling, and it's all pretty. That's great. That's for social media. Most people journaling don't go like that. Sometimes it does, and more power to the people that do. I can't. I got a 6-year-old and an almost 11-month baby. My journaling don't look like that. My journaling is probably holding my child, trying to write at the same time. And so, but the thing is, that's still my space. Nobody gets to take that space. And
Wow.
so that's what I tried to create, a space where that is your space. Nobody gets to take that.
I love that. So it's a couple of things I want to highlight that you said, in case people missed it. So number one, this is not your average journal. So for those of you who have said, well, I've tried journaling before, you haven't tried this method, and you've already heard that it's different. But the other thing is, this is a starting place. And I just want to highlight, as a person who has gone through therapy, this is the starting place to help you feel more comfortable to get
Right.
to the therapist. And I can just say that, like you and I having this conversation, this is how my conversations went with my therapist. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
never forget, I was in a therapy session, and we were talking about me wanting to quit my job to focus on entrepreneurship, right? I was juggling working full time at a university with the business. My business had a brick and mortar. And so she's just listening to me talk, 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 and about, how the students don't want to learn and I want to teach. And I'm just going on and on and on and on. And then finally she said, you already know what you need to do. And I was like, yeah, I'm here to talk to you to figure this out. and, she- and she's like, no, you already know what you need to do. What's stopping you from doing it? And so I sat there for a moment, and I'm a pretty honest with my feelings type of person. And I said, fear. Fear is what's stopping me. Being comfortable is what's stopping me. And so once I made the decision to become comfortable being uncomfortable, I was able to make that transition. But she helped me, after me doing all this talking, she helped me work through it. And that also made the journey easier. But of course, I had to pray too.
Right, right. No, I put them both. I say therapy and theology for me personally. But even in my practice, like I don't have a Christian therapy practice, but I am a Christian who is a therapist. Because not everybody and is that comes to me are Christian. We have Muslims, atheists. Like it's a counseling practice, which means my job is to help whoever shows up at my door. And the reality is, I believe since I am the Christian who is the therapist that God has told me to love. And so this is how I love. Like this journal is how I love. It's like, how do you put work out there that speaks to whoever needs it? Because there's a lot of hurting people, and maybe they can't get to me just yet, but this is something that can change. So, whatever I do and whatever I produce, whether I'm sitting across from a client to the journal to the book that I'm working on that I'm gonna have to start using this talk because with this baby I can't write. I have to use the talk option. Whatever that is just to do it out of love because I want people to be healed and be whole. And sometimes you got to do a lot of different ways. Talk therapy is not always it. And as a therapist, when the client sit in front of me, the client is the expert. That's why your therapist was like you thought they were supposed to, but you were always the expert. It's your life, right? It's our job just to come alongside of you and just bring other things out there. Because a lot of times when we're thinking about stuff, or especially it's a problem, we're so in tunnel vision. It's like, what are the ways can I get you just to stretch that tunnel vision just a little bit more so you can see those other things? Because usually the things are right there with you, but it's like we just got to help you like refocus. And whatever I can do to do that, that's what I'm trying to do. Like I said, that's why I tried to put many different things in the journal where it's just like, okay, maybe you think this way, but maybe you're a thinker and you have to do this. Maybe you have to lay it out this way. So just trying to capture everybody. If I could make an audible version, I probably would. But like everybody learns differently. I mean, you've taught, you know that, like you're trying to reach people and you know everybody's not getting it the same way. So, what other ways can I help people to try to just get it to break the stigma of therapy? Because therapy is not for you got to be. I've heard people like you got to be insane. You don't. You don't. You can be doing well and just want to maintain that. But it's like if life gonna hit at some point. Keyword life be life it. At some point, life gonna hit. Do you really have the tools to continue going through life when it hits? And you don't want to wait till life hits to finally get the tools. Do it while life is in a manageable state for you. So when life hits, you're just like, all right, I already know what to do. Let me go pick this up. Let me do this because we don't control life, unfortunately. So when it hits, it's gonna hit. What you gonna
What you gonna do?
do?
Listen, the part about when it happens,
Hmm.
not if it happens, when it happens, are
Right,
you going to be prepared? And I think some people think, well, I'm 60 years old. Of course, I'm going to be prepared. And you're not.
right.
And it happens and you fall apart when you really could have just been taking these little baby steps. Why do people feel the need to have this mask on, acting like everything is together when everything is not together? I think it's for me, I think it's the media has made it seem like
Hmm.
everything other people are so perfect, but when they come behind that camera, you be like, oh, if you were able to go into their space, you're like, oh,
Right, right. And it's an honor for me, honestly, sitting across from my clients. I was something like, it's an honor for me to be in your life, for you to like want to sit down with me to start to trust, because you shouldn't trust your therapist right off. It's a relationship. But then, I say the equation trust equals consistent action over time. It's your job to give me time. It's my job to show you consistent action so that you can trust me and know that this is a safe place. But to be in that vulnerable place, because the reality therapy is not for the faint of heart, and that therapy is vulnerable. So that's why, media makes it seem like everything has to be perfect, but the reality is no, it doesn't. But that takes vulnerability, and vulnerability is scary and it's uncomfortable, and everybody wants to be comfortable. And it's like I tell clients two things: get used to being uncomfortable, so get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and learn what contentment is. Cause if you comfortable, then who tell me to I'm keep telling you, somebody gonna tell me the trick one day, and I'm gonna bottle it up and I'm gonna be selling it on the shelves. But until then, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing now, which is just getting used to things. Like, like we talked before we jumped on here, and I tell, this has been a year of vulnerability for me having my daughter and being in the position I've had. My daughter has been on podcasts with me. Like, hey y'all, here she go. Why? Because it's like, this is vulnerability for me, where it's like my life is not perfect by far. It's things I have to go through, things after. I mean, you can have loss, you can have, loss in many different ways. So it can be death or just some other form of loss. But I'm going through life the same way my clients are going through life. And I tell my clients, I was like, I go to therapy. My therapist's name is Ashley. I see her faithfully. We, those things to work through, for me to even to produce the journal, for the, I had to, like, what would I have wanted if I couldn't have went to therapy? What is something that can help me? What are those things? And so, not just taking my clients' complaints, but putting it in a space where it's like, if those are my complaints, or if some of them work, because some, I like to color sometimes, and I don't want to always just buy a coloring book. So it's like putting it in a thing, and I wanted it to look nice, and I wanted it to be something that people can do. That's why it's the spiral and not the normal just fold back. I wanted people to be able to do it hard back, so you can write on it, take it wherever you go. um but it was just one of those things where I had to learn how to be vulnerable, because this was very vulnerable for me to put this journal out and put my name on it. Because for the longest, I
Mm.
was just like, even when I got them, I still didn't put them right out. I was just like, ooh, my name on that. What might people say about that? So, but getting it out there, it's just been great. And I've gotten really great feedback. And then I take it, I love feedback anyway. So if it's something that does not work, I'm like, please let me know, because that's helpful. Because if, if I do 2.0, then it's like, look, I could put some of these things, because ultimately, why did I do it? This is part of my purpose. So why did I put it out there? So, yep.
Wow. So we are almost out of time, but it's a couple of things I want to do. So number one, I you have to tell everybody about the elephant on the cover, because people may make some assumptions about why this elephant is here. So tell us the story behind this.
The elephant is from my grandmother. That was her favorite animal, and I absolutely love my grandmother. And then red is my favorite color. So even though the journals come in the burgundy color and the white, it's red in both of them. And so that's where the elephant started. And then, honestly, what does the elephant represent? The elephant is a very graceful creature, but at the same time, the elephant can move like mountains. People, like, everybody know elephants are strong, but they don't have to go around stumping like they have to be strong. They're very graceful in everything that they do. And so, and just understanding that in life, like, we can be graceful in everything that we do, but when it comes time to it, we have all the strength that we need to move that mountain. So that sums it up without me going through the whole backstory. But that's what it is. I love elephants, and that, they're just beautiful creatures all together.
Absolutely. So the other thing I want to do is number one, tell everybody where they can get their own copy, because I happen to be at a conference that you were speaking at, which is how I got my copy. But where can everybody else get their own copy?
They can go to our website. It's theheartofcounselingandwellness.com. And it's a little tab that says Life Be Lifing. And they can just click on that tab and just order it, and we will mail it right out to you.
Love it. And is it going to be a signed copy?
If, well,
You're going
it
to charge
can
extra for
be.
that. Charge extra for the signature.
If you come to any conferences that I'm at, it's a conference at the end of May. Actually, it's a mental health conference, and there's a couple of people I think that's going to be there. Felicia Houston, she's one of the keynote speakers there. I'm speaking at that conference as well, and it's at Disciples Church. It's a mental health conference that they're doing for the community, so clinicians can come on that Friday night. And that's the very last weekend, and that Friday, Saturday, the end of May. And then the public can come on that Saturday all day, and we'll be there. So if they want, feel free to come. I think it's a great experience. Like I said, it's a mental health conference. Everybody's invited. You don't have to like go to church or be at a church to come. It's just the church is the ones hosting the conference. But I think it's going to be a great thing.
Awesome. And then lastly, um, what does the future hold for you? What do you have? And I like this to be a accountability partner, right? Because you can say, I said during that recording that I was going to be doing XYZ. So you already talked about another book. So
Oh, you heard
I'll
that.
be,
I love it. I love that
yeah.
you heard that. I was like, oh, I didn't slide in.
You know what? And I always tell people that you'd be surprised. It'll be 6 months later, and I'll be like, "Hey, what happened to that book?" And that might put some fire back under you to get it, started if you haven't finished. But what else is happening in the future?
Um, well, in the future, the first and foremost is finishing up this PhD. Uh, do comps in June and go into my writing. My research is going back to my nonprofit, which is bridging that gap of access to care. So finishing that up, but definitely working on the other book. So a lot of writing in my future, and just continuing to get into a lot of community activities, letting people know the group practice is here. We're ready to serve the community, because it's only been 2 years for us being out as a group practice. I was single as a private practitioner, and now I have some other wonderful women with me, ready to serve. So that is where I am. I'm looking to definitely get into more speaking engagements. So we'll see.
Okay, I love it. Well, our time is up, but I definitely have enjoyed getting to connect with you to learn more about your journal. Actually have a women's conference that I am hosting in September, so maybe I'll have to get some copies so that we can sell them for you at the event. It's, of course, all women. Um, it seems like women are the ones that are more vulnerable to coming to an event. Men will come to an event if it's like whiskey and cigars. Like they'll come to that event. But so we will be in touch with you. And
Okay.
I want to thank you so much for being here today. I'm sorry we didn't get to see the baby girl on the podcast. We have had kids make appearances before, kids and dogs make appearances. So maybe next time when you
Right.
have,
The dogs are put up because they don't never miss. They like to be in the camera. So
yes. Well, listen, everyone, this has been another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.